Welcome to the Root of Power podcast, where I teach you how to step into your power, find alignment, and create a life that you love using holistic methods, interviews with industry leaders, and inspiring stories from people who know that true freedom is found within. I'm your host and health and wellness bestie, Amanda Chills, and I'm so proud of you for choosing to step into the root of your power. Y'all, Hannah is such a gem. She really gets the whole spectrum of health. She does movement, nutrition, mindset. She teaches you how to cook. How to cook simply, delicious, not super time consuming. You are going to hear about where she got trained as a chef, which is just the coolest freaking thing. So settle in. Open your ears and let's party with Hannah. As a reminder, y'all, if you want to start building healthy habits, head to my website. I have got a free guide on how to do that. livemyhappyhealth.com. You're going to see it if you scroll down just a little bit. And it is free for you. Why? Because I love you and I want you to live your best heckin' life. So let's party. Okay, welcome podcast fam. We have Hannah Mckitrick with us, who this is her first podcast episode. So thank you very much. She is a wellness chef and a holistic nutritionist, also a yoga instructor. So she's just hitting like all the holistic buttons. Y'all, her website is beautiful. So when she tells us what it is, go check it out. She's got some very cool programs and she works with people who want to eat better, cook better, move better. She really hits a good spectrum. So y'all are in for a huge treat. Welcome, Hannah. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Dude, we're excited. You can't hear them because it's a podcast, but I assume they're excited too.
Yeah, I'll assume too as well.
Yeah.
I can hear you all screaming.
Right? They're probably like, yes, cook better. Because how many people do you run into who like really struggle to cook well?
Yeah. No, the biggest thing I run into are people that are kind of trapped in that diet mindset. Like, oh, I have to eat this or I can't eat that and I have to measure this. And to me, I'm a chef obviously, but even when I'm making recipes, I like measurements, I'm just like, I don't know, like as much as it takes to make it taste good. So that's what I love, is a lot of the meals that I make, both for myself and on my cooking classes, are what I like to call healthy gourmet. So it's foods that taste really good, but they also make you feel good. So like, for instance, the class I'm doing next week, it's like zucchini noodles, spirals, with a roasted red pepper pesto and some Parmesan cheese, some artichoke hearts. So it's very hearty and filling. It's like all vegetables. So
would you say a lot of people are very intimidated by cooking?
Yeah. And one thing is intimidated, but also I think one of the biggest things is uninspired is what I'm actually beginning to find. So it's funny, like most people, they know how to use a knife. They know how to turn on their stove, but it's like you have a bag of broccoli in your fridge and you're just like, I don't know, like, I don't really know what to do with that. So what I find the people that do classes with me and my clients, what they really get out of it is inspiration. So after the class, they're like, oh, I'm going to go roast up that broccoli with some olive oil and some Parmesan cheese and garlic and garnish it with some lemon juice, so it's just different, boiled broccoli versus lemon broccoli, garlic Parmesan, whatever.
Yeah.
And still working out the name of that one, but
we'll come up with something clever.
Yeah.
Or if you have something clever, like, message us. I can imagine that, like, because a lot of people grow up where like you just microwave it in water and then they set vegetables in front of you. Well, a lot of white people grow up that way.
Yeah.
Other cultures tend to use a lot of spices and things like that. But they're just like, oh, these vegetables are gross, but it's like you don't actually season it.
Yeah. And so like
Yeah.
honestly, I think vegetables got a bad rap, whatever. And it's like, oh, it's something that you have to put on your plate versus a lot of my meals,
Right.
honestly, the way that I take out any mind chatter of the diet is that I start my meal with a vegetable, like what vegetable do I want to use? And then from there, I one, make sure it tastes good. But then two, I kind of feel like I have the freedom to add whatever else I want because I know it's a vegetable, right? Like that's not complicated. That you don't have to count anything. Like
Right.
it's healthy. It's like the one thing in the diet industry that's like not bastardized. So I start my meals with vegetables.
I think we're going to be hitting diet industry, and I love that. But how did you even get into doing this? So like, did you do yoga first? Were you a chef first? Are you just like in like yoga poses being like, what am I having for dinner every night?
Yeah, the way it started is that I majored in economics, right? Like makes sense.
Hey, you run your own business, so I guess it works.
Right. Like I really didn't know I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I just thought econ was a safe bet. But honestly, from like out of the womb, my passion has been cooking. Like I love cooking. I was a baker. I baked at a cupcake shop and at a coffee shop at my college. Went to Connecticut College. And yeah, so I've always loved being in the kitchen. I think for me, it helps get out of my head and into what I'm doing, into creativity, into my hands. I like to overthink things a lot. So cooking is just a nice outlet. And then I also have Crohn's disease, which is inflammation of the gut. So around when I was 18, 19, like after my freshman year of college is when I really started to look at diet as a way to actually heal my gut instead of I really had no concept of food as healing before that time. I was forced to, right? Like
and a lot of people don't.
Yeah, like at that time they were threatening surgery. So I found a holistic nutritionist and worked with him. And his approach was whole foods, one word ingredient, simple, cooked veggies. And I followed it rigidly. And I actually was able to kind of cure my gut through diet. And then, simultaneously, after college, I went to culinary school in Italy because, I was 23 and why not?
What? Okay. Tell us about that because that's awesome.
Okay.
That's awesome.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was like, this was like me. So I was in a corporate job after college and I would spend my days like Googling like culinary school, Europe programs, Italy, or like
that's
France.
so funny. Yeah.
And I found this one and it's one of those things like, it's like everything like logical about it. Like you'd be like, no, you can't do that. You can't quit your job. You can't. But I was like, yeah, this is me. This perfect. There was like hardly even a website. Like it looked sketchy, but I was like, this is perfect.
I probably won't get murdered. Let's do it.
Yes. And I didn't.
So
and so it was in it was in southern Italy, in Calabria. And it was 16 people from all over the world that came together, and it was 3 months, and it was just every day was like a live cooking class basically with views of the Ionian Sea, and it was just endless food, endless wine. It was so much fun. And then I came back from that and went back into mainstream work because that's what my mind told me I should do. And, at that time, like I was in a toxic work environment and I really had to look towards other outlets to kind of keep myself grounded throughout that chaos. So yoga it was. And so that's really when I became a yogi, was to just kind of cope with everyday life, physically and mentally. And then I was like, screw this. Like, I just want to go all the way. So then I ended up getting my yoga teacher certification in Malta. And yeah, I know. I call them my little like sabbaticals. I would just love to like work for a while and quit my job,
You
So
can just travel for fun. Like you just have to get a certification. It's fun.
oh my God. Yeah. It's
But,
like, I gotta like maximize this
mm,
trip. So I got that in Malta, and simultaneously
so
I was
cool.
like, let's do it all. So I got my holistic nutrition certification at the Academy of Healing Nutrition in
Oh yeah.
London. Yeah.
Okay. So how do you blend it all together? So you do holistic nutrition coaching and you teach people to cook and you do yoga. Like, what is it
Yeah.
like doing it all?
So it's exactly what I do is I blend it all together. I take like those three experiences were so cool for me, and I like to take all the bits and pieces that I liked the most out of each. So for cooking school in Italy, for instance, I like to have a really entertaining and fun kitchen like in my classes. Like I want people to just enjoy themselves, like nothing
Yeah.
about it is serious. And it has to taste good. So those are the two things
Yeah.
that I took from there.
Has to
And
be
then
fun and to taste good. Okay.
yes. And then I think I like it to be healthy. So, because that's how I like to eat. So
Mhm.
that's, I take bits and pieces from my nutrition certification. Um, but actually, that's like kind of a lie because I actually don't really think about the science when I'm
Hmm.
cooking, like nutritional science. I am way more someone who thinks in the simplified version, which for me,
Mhm.
I've simplified it into two things, which is vegetables and whole foods.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of how I think.
But if you're hitting those too, like you're hitting the science and
Exactly.
honestly, if I was struggling with learning to cook and someone says, well, you want the salt to sweetness ratio and the umami, blah, 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 and you want 30% carbs and blah, 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 and I'm just going to be like, I have to die now. Like, I can't, I'm
Yeah.
actually going to go die.
No,
Like,
exactly. Like when I'm
oh my
cooking a meal, I'm
gosh.
not thinking of like the scientific like proportions of carbs to proteins. I'm just like, nah,
Right.
I just want it to taste good. So this is my method that I've
Yeah.
boiled down so that I can do that
Nice.
efficiently.
And I think it makes it less scary for people and
Yeah.
it makes it more sustainable because if you're throwing all of these terms and percentages and you add heat because it does, I don't know anything about cooking, honestly, but
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know what I mean? People, it scares people like because they already are intimidated by roasted red pepper sauce, and you're just like, you just roast the red peppers and blend them. Like it's not.
No, actually, those I use from the jar. I'm not trying to like, I'm
Ah,
not trying to spend hours in the kitchen. It's like
baker.
the weeknight meal.
You're fake. So
Yeah.
you make it really simple so that it's less scary and it's more sustainable, which means they're more likely to eat healthier in a longer term.
And the thing that I want to emphasize is that with that, with those two I don't know, pillars that I keep in my head,
Sure.
the third pillar, if you will, is flexibility. And I can
Hmm.
have that flexibility because I have those pillars. So
Right.
those are my foundation. But at the same time, I'm not kidding you. I have a cookie every single night because I
Yeah.
love cookies and they
Hmm.
make me happy and I love baking. So if you like baking, you have to like
Hmm.
eating it too. And like I never like that, like it can very much like fit into my diet because it's so stacked with other things. So it's
Hmm.
like they say like think of what you're adding versus like what you can't have. And so like
Hmm.
I add a lot of good nutrients through the vegetables and the whole foods. And so then I'm kind of like, well, I can have a handful of Ritz crackers if I
Yeah.
want, and it's fine.
So talk to us about how like using whole foods and using vegetables is different than like a diet because I think people in the wellness industry are starting to talk about it more, but I think a lot of people who are not in that industry really don't understand the difference between like a holistic approach to wellness and nutrition and like a keto diet or an Atkins diet or
Yeah.
Weight Watchers. Like, what is the difference, and why do you lean more towards holistic and away from like diets?
Yeah, so I'll tell you what I heard from Kelly LeVeque, who's a holistic nutritionist, and she's very science-based. And what she says is that for every diet out there, like there is no right and wrong, right?
Mhm.
So keto, whatever, I can't
Keto.
remember. That might work for some people, and for
Mhm.
every diet, and way of life, there are things that you can argue for why it's good and things that you can argue for why it's bad.
Yeah.
So, there are obviously benefits of extra protein and benefits of cutting out whatever you want. And you can make an argument for any of them. But for me, how I kind of view diets is a bit more restrictive, a bit more unintuitive. So cutting out things for the sake of cutting them out. So for instance, like some diets, you can't have dairy. And mind you, I'm not talking about like medical diets, like that's
people who
thing.
are doing it to like lose weight or to
yeah. So if you're trying to lose weight and you say like I can't have dairy, like to me that feels a little restrictive. And then you can't have the roasted garlic parmesan broccoli that we were talking about.
Right.
And that's a really, really healthy, nutrient dense dish that I wouldn't want someone to not have because I think they can't have cheese or they can't have oil or oil's fattening, which oil actually aids your digestion. So healthy fats. So just stuff like that. I feel like it's just kind of I like to have intuition when I'm eating and when I'm cooking. I like to eat what I'm in the mood for, and I know how to make it healthy and taste good without a lot of the restrictions.
And so that's what you teach. Like you found that happy medium between, I'm in the mood for XYZ. And it's not overwhelming, it's simple, and it's healthy. So it really hits all of those things. And I imagine that it gives people so many more options. So I think when people, find a nutrition paradigm that works for them, like some people do paleo, some people do whatever, but you're right, they are very, very restrictive. And for some people that works, but if you're in a calorie deficit forever, that also doesn't work. So part of the reason those diets work is because you're literally ingesting less calories. So you're going to lose weight, but you can't always be in a deficit because your body doesn't thrive that way. So when you simplify it and you say, you know what, this stuff is going to taste good, you're not going to have to be in the kitchen for hours.
Exactly. And that kind of touches upon one of my other beliefs is that I think your own health has to be linked like very, very strongly with your own enjoyment. And to me, that's what makes it. Yeah. So that's what makes it intuitive. Like, I don't think like you should be eating less calories a day because you think you should, or I don't think you should be running because you think you should. Instead, I think you should find what you like so that it actually becomes sustainable. So if you like, there's got to be some exercise that you like. You don't have to be a runner. Like I love running, but like I also like swimming, and I know it's okay. Like I'm not
That's terrible. Get off the podcast.
And I'm also not going to make everyone do yoga either. Like if they don't like yoga, like that's fine. But like I do believe that there's something that you can find that you like so that it becomes intuitive for you. Like it's not something you have to do. It's something you want to do. And so this is the same thing goes with food. For me, I like to keep, for instance, like frozen cauliflower rice always on hand, canned artichoke hearts, like different sauces, lemons, stuff like that, like on hand. That's easy because again, like linking my own enjoyment. I enjoy things that are quick. I enjoy not overthinking. So like if I can grab a bag of cauliflower rice and mix it with pesto and like throw in some like chickpeas or something and call that dinner, like that's 3 ingredients and like it's good. And so I think if you're depriving yourself, that could probably is sucking away some of the enjoyment that like you deserve to have when it comes to your health. I think.
And it sounds like you advocate too, because there's a lot of people in the circle who say like buying canned stuff is bad. So you're like, no, buy the canned thing. Like it's
buy the canned thing. And I like to have canned like there's like 2 canned things that I really like. One is canned artichoke hearts. I like love them. This year I just like rediscovered them and they're so hearty and easy and healthy to like add on a salad, to add on a bowl, to add into like roasted spaghetti squash or whatever. So that's one. And then the other one is chickpeas. Because it's like an easy added protein, roasted up with some curry powders, what I usually do, or like smoked paprika. And yeah, that's like a little added source of protein. And again, throw it on salads, throw it in like
Yeah.
bowls, whatever you
Yeah.
have.
Just throw it in
Um,
your food.
yeah, and then the rest, I do like to keep some frozen stuff on hand, like cauliflower pizza crust I'll keep on hand, cauliflower rice,
Delish.
sometimes like frozen zucchini noodles I'll keep on
Mhm.
hand. And then other than that, I guess I buy a lot of fresh produce and I kind of see what I'm in the mood for that night, which I
Mhm.
know is like a lot of people really like meal plans. So like,
Yeah.
which
I think people like the idea of meal plans and
yeah,
they don't like the reality of meal plans.
I know, but I'm like, well, what if I'm not in the mood for chicken parm that night? Like, what if
Right.
I want a salad that night? So
Right.
I like to buy a bunch of stuff with like ideas in my head, but then like allow the flexibility on the night of to like
Yeah.
decide or
So there's like some
I
structure,
exactly, or at least some
but
ideas, or
it's
I'll
not
buy
like,
stuff that I know won't go bad, like
yeah, good plan.
butternut squash, like a butternut squash, like that'll keep for, a couple, like a month or two.
Yeah, forever.
Yeah. And I do prep my lunch every day. I make a batch of that and then pack it, but
Mhm.
I'm always in the mood for it. And if I'm not, when I'm not, I usually, yeah, dinner, I'll switch it up though.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So how do you like when you're taking people through a journey, let's say they're like, hey, I want to learn to cook. Like, what does that journey look like? And what do
Yeah.
you find that people, when they come out of the end of it, like, what do you see the most of? Like, do they feel like they have more freedom? Are they more relaxed about food? Are they more confident? Are they more brave?
I
Like,
would I
what do
would
you
say
see?
all of the above for sure. I definitely like to, as I was kind of touching upon earlier, link enjoyment to
Mm-hmm.
this process. So my cooking classes, there's a group of people, which is fun. Like you're connecting with other
Mm-hmm.
people, you're talking. I really try to set the space. I try to, I do, I not try, I do. I hold a compassionate container for people
Yeah.
because some people are intimidated by food, by the kitchen, by
Yeah.
whatever, being vulnerable there. So I really try to set the tone of just relaxation, like this is for fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then um, from there, I make it approachable. And I think by people getting that hands-on experience,
Mm-hmm.
seeing for themselves, like the things, I don't know, buttons start to click
Yeah.
into place. And they're like, oh, like I can microwave that dinner and it's healthy and it's quick. And
Mm-hmm.
I actually really am craving that. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So it just starts to click and it becomes attainable for them to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it also becomes desirable for them to do. So they become inspired, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
because they have those now positive associations of cooking, like with a group,
Mm-hmm.
making something they want to make.
Yeah.
That's not complicated.
Are they allowed to like request things that they want?
Oh God, yeah. I'm always like, tell me what you want. Like,
Yeah, that's
um,
cool.
and yeah, and like even like I love, one of my favorite things is when people are like, I have this and this in my fridge. What can I make? I'm like, oh,
Mm,
let's break it down. Like,
yeah.
what are you in the mood for? And like I'll just give them a couple options like that. Because
Love
that's
it.
kind of how I like to cook. Um,
Yeah.
and just like giving them inspiration and ideas so that they can then from there choose what they're actually in the mood
Yeah.
for.
And so you're really teaching them, like, I love the intuitive approach because I think part of what happens with dieting, and I think it's something, again, a lot of people are not aware of, and women more specifically than men, is it completely disconnects us from our body.
Mm.
Completely. So when we don't listen to hunger cues, when we force ourselves into those cues, when we eat things that we don't like because of a certain goal, or we work out too hard, which I think goes hand in hand with dieting. People work out too hard. They chronically overexercise. Their body's always inflamed. It's stressed out, but they're not listening. They're not connected enough to say, bitch, you need to slow down. Like you need to
Yeah.
chill. You need to eat more food. You need to rest more, because there's this whole diet culture and the pressure. And I love that you take the intuitive approach, because that approach also checks in with your body. Hey, what am I in the mood for? And your body gets to go, thank God you're finally listening to me.
Yeah.
I want these things. And to me, that's the most empowering thing, is you're reconnecting them with their body. And that is something they carry forever.
And I also think it's a matter of reconnecting enjoyment with healing foods, because vegetables and whole foods are like, there's nothing bad about them. Like they're
Right.
good for you. They will have positive effects on your gut.
Right.
And you don't have to fear them. You don't have to dread them. You don't have to measure them. You can just have them without restriction and make them taste good. And the other thing that I really think that people find, I mean, I've found it from a young age, but cooking, like the act itself, and connecting, it's healing, like it's creative. It calms you down. It gives you something to focus on. And it allows you that space to reconnect, like with yourself, with your desires, and with other people, and like in a fun way.
I wonder if that was something you noticed. Like Italian culture is very like culinary. They cook together. They spend a long time doing it. Like, was that a big difference that you noticed over there versus here? The way that we even like approach cooking?
Totally. Like, it's so interesting. Like, there's like so many different things that I could say, but like,
Ooh, just pick
for instance,
all of them.
okay, so like you actually had to eat what was in season. Like you couldn't just go and get like strawberries until April. Like you just couldn't.
Yeah.
And that was so interesting, because it's like,
that's so different from here.
Yeah. And so like that made me think about it in a different way, of like the actual meaning of seasonality, because it was Southern Italy. Like they're not that modernized, and it's like you get what is bountiful at that moment in time. And because it's available, it means it's what's in season, which means it's at like its ripest point, and is like exactly what you should be eating at that moment in time.
Yeah. How fascinating.
Yeah, so that was one. And then another is like like I love seafood. Like, and you'd get it's like now for shopping lists for cooking classes, I'm always like 1 pound of shrimp, like peeled and deveined. Like that's a normal thing to say there. Like that was the thing. Like you were the ones peeling it and you're the ones deveining it. And so I was kind of like, gosh, like, and it's like like you said, like it's an art, like it's a process, like it's a family thing, it's a cultural thing. Like that's what you do. You peel the shrimp yourself and you devein it yourself. I don't want to get too graphic.
But it's a process.
It's a process. And it's an all-day affair. And it was really centered around like making something taste amazing. Like that's what it was about. And we did.
Interesting. Yeah, I think that makes you have more of a relationship with your food too. Like, so I grew up in Florida, not in a farm area, but I live in a big farm area now. So I've lived here for 7 years. I have never seen a chicken house in my life until I was 24 and I moved here. Never seen one. Couldn't tell you a thing about them except the PETA videos that I watched. Couldn't tell you. But now I see, like, it's very interesting because it's a semi with thousands of chickens and you know where it's going and just going down the road. And I'm just like, okay, this is so much more graphic than it was when I was in a bigger city. But when you're in a more rural area, you have a much closer relationship to the animals and to the produce. And
like when you have less resources too, like, when you're not ordering your groceries on Amazon Prime, which I am, you actually are like, for instance, they'll spend a Sunday like making pasta with their hands. And, that might not fit into what people might call quote unquote healthy, but like the process in which they did it was, like you take care making this product from scratch and then you enjoy it thoughtfully with your family over a meal. And so the way that even like that process is just healthier, like it's not processed and all those additives, it really does a number on our gut. So
and everything else. And
yeah,
that's one of my huge anger spots with the nutrition community. And I write about it a lot and I talk about it a lot, is the misinformation that corporations pump millions of dollars a year into, to literally lie to consumers to get them to buy their shit, like their actual shit products. And they spend millions on food psychology and where to place things in a grocery store and what colors are people drawn to, and the word natural over the word healthy. I mean, there are literal food psychologists whose job it is to figure out how to best lie to consumers. And so many people just don't know. So when you take a whole foods approach, you also skip all of the advertising and the noise that comes with things like that.
Yeah. And like when you take the whole foods approach, it's so easy because it's just one word ingredients. And then again, piggyback with the fact that you can go into those aisles and get whichever treat you want, or you know, whatever you like whatever snack you want, like it creates that room for you to not deprive yourself of things, even if they're not whole foods, you know, like
because even if you're eating, let's say, like, I love chocolate cake.
Right.
With ganache, like, oh my god.
Oh my god. Little chocolate mousse.
Like, don't even like talk dirty to me about chocolate mousse.
I know, right? I know, like, people are gonna get get a misconception thinking this Whole Foods lady. I'm like, no. You should see my dessert.
But there's a place for it. So where I was going is, like, when you base the foundation on whole, from the ground, or has feet foods, or, you know, like fins,
one word ingredient,
then you have room for that. Like, it has its place. Am I going to give up chocolate cake? Not in this life.
Absolutely not.
But do I prioritize whole foods? Do I do my best within my ability, within my budget, within my knowledge, to eat in a way that serves me long term? Yeah. And you know what? Listen, there's a place in town that, like, when I tell you I would take a bullet for her cheesecake recipe, like, I'm not, like, not in like a bone, but like definitely a fleshy part.
Sure.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Not like a big bullet, like a little bullet.
I mean, because you still want to be able to eat the cheesecake.
Right.
So.
I still want to eat the cheesecake. Like, you better believe if she has banana pudding cheesecake, I'm eating it.
Yum.
But it's not like, I'm not eating, I don't want to say trash.
So you know what my first thought too was? I was like, oh, we could make a really fun banana cheesecake smoothie. You know, like, I love doing that.
Really, like,
putting healthy spins on stuff I love. Like I love making like, I call it like a Reese's smoothie. I make that almost every morning that I'm not going to work. And with like cacao powder and peanut butter and spinach and, you know, all that good stuff.
Delish.
Yeah.
Banging. So people
so
people can do things like that. They can get creative and have like a Reese's smoothie, but oh, by the way, it has a handful of spinach. So what do you find people most drawn to when they're cooking things? Is it like, I'm intimidated by vegetables, but wow, these taste really good? Or people are like, I want smoothie recipes, or I want quick things? Like, what are they most drawn to, or get the biggest benefit?
I'd say unanimous across the board is easy, healthy dinner.
Easy, healthy.
Period. That tastes good. Comma.
So literally what you do.
Yeah. And it's, I'm like, okay,
great.
We can work with that. Awesome. And yeah, like last night I had a cooking class and it was so fun. And it was actually the first time that I had made this quote unquote recipe. I have to give people a recipe, so I call it a recipe. But I like halfway through class, someone's like, aren't we supposed to be doing something else right now? And I was like, yeah, but I decided this way's easier. And, you know, I just wing it on the fly. But it was, we did cauliflower rice with blanched asparagus, lemon, garlic, and Parmesan. And then we topped it with roasted sweet potato, roasted zucchini, because zucchini's getting in season again. And we made a tahini sauce to dollop on top. Yeah, so it was super yummy.
So good.
It was so good, and I have leftovers tonight, so now I'm like, I don't have to cook tonight. And,
do you find that a lot of people? So like, I am more like you, where I'm just going to throw whatever amount I want. So like, when people ask me, you know, how much of that to put in, and I'm just like, enough.
Yeah, that's been like one of my biggest challenges
Yeah. Because
this year.
people want, like, my boyfriend is that way. He's like, I need a half a tablespoon. And I'm like, shut up, throw some in
Yeah.
there.
No, totally. So I'm trying to cater to both sides because I find that it's always a mix in
Yeah.
my programs and my classes. It's some people need like the measured ingredients, and some people are like, oh my God, I love that you're just eyeballing it right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
So what I do is I make it the way that I would make it, and then guess how much I put in, and then make it with that like
Yeah.
measurement. So say last night the tahini sauce, it was a quarter cup of tahini, 2 heaping tablespoons of Greek yogurt, a tablespoon of maple syrup, a juice of a lemon. Someone was like, how many tablespoons? And I'm like, the juice of a lemon. Yeah, that
What
one I'm
size
like,
lemon?
I actually
A
did. No, I
normal
said
size one.
about 3 tablespoons because she had already juiced her lemons.
That's so cute.
And I was like, okay, that's fair. And salt and pepper, I still, that one I still have to say eyeball of salt and pepper because
Yeah.
I feel it like with my hands, like people can't see, but I'm making motions over my roasting,
Yeah.
my theoretical roasting
Like
pan.
Salt Bay.
And yeah, evenly like from up high.
Funny.
So I have the measurements as a guideline, but I encourage people in the class. I'm like, add about that much and then taste it, right? Because then
Yeah.
I'm trying to like train their muscle of being like, oh, like I can actually adjust this as I go.
Yeah.
Like I can add salt and I can
Right.
add pepper. Or if I want it thinner, I can add some water, just like stuff like that maybe
Yeah.
you weren't trained to think about. But it gives you that flexibility to kind of
Yeah.
create and taste and adjust as you go.
Yeah. And I think that would make sense to me, that a lot of people struggle with that, because especially if you don't have a lot of confidence cooking, I can imagine they're like, well, this is a recipe and I have to follow it or it'll be bad. And it's like, I think a lot of people don't give ourselves enough credit for knowing
Yeah.
how we like things and our ability to adjust. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And I totally get it because I've been cooking, for so long that I understand it very well, but some things that I've never cooked before, like for instance, sometimes I don't know, I'm trying to think of an example. Like if I wanted to try like for Thanksgiving, I thought it could be fun or it was Christmas, like a stuffed turkey breast and like rolling, how people like do the turkey breast and they roll it up with stuffing and twine and that like I've never done before. So I looked up a lot of different recipes to get the inspiration, and then took the bits and pieces that I liked from the different recipes. But I felt like I wanted the guideline just for like for reassurance.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Awesome. So perfect segue. How do people find you, work with you? What do you offer? Like, where do you hang out?
I hang out in the kitchen now. Well, I do.
We're not knocking on your door. So like virtually, I hope no one like knocks on your door. Don't do that. Like, where do people find you?
So my website is myintuitivehealth.com. But I update my Instagram a lot because my Instagram is hannah.mckitrick, just my first name dot
Can
last
you
name.
spell it?
Sure. It's HANNAH dot, so period, Mckitrick, MCKITRICK. And there I'll post a lot of fun recipes, videos, and I'll do monthly cooking classes just for drop-in. And then I am going to be launching a Cook Well program. So this is a longer type of format, about 8 weeks, for people to really dive into that compassionate container of creativity, connection, and healing, so that they can like really integrate those changes. Number one, but number two, just like as a kind of something fun to do on say like a Tuesday night, when there's not like a ton else to do in quarantine. And so just something to look forward to and to gain a little more inspiration, so that the question, what's for dinner, isn't as dreadful.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I just love that. Is there anything else that you like wanted to hit that you're thinking about? I think we've got some really good stuff.
I don't think so. The only thing is I do also do group like private cooking classes, either for friends, for family, but also like I'm doing one next week for a corporate office for like 50 of them, just as like
Awesome.
a fun, like to switch up the weekly Zooms, weekly happy
you.
hours. We're making a cocktail in that class.
Cute.
Just to magically make them all better chefs, and to ensure that they have fun. Because, like I said, I want them to have fun. And that's actually fun because we're using ingredients that are also in the recipe. So lemon and
Cute.
basil. Yeah.
What a brilliant idea. So if you're a corporation or if you're a business or if you're a person,
If you're a person and you have a friend,
if you have a stomach,
yeah,
this is for you. And if you don't have a stomach, I don't know what to do with you.
Yeah, we're
This is
sending
not
you
for you, I
all
guess. Then you can do yoga. Like
exactly. Yeah. And I also have yoga classes on my website that you can drop in on. And I'm going to incorporate some of those into the Cook Well program, like the little digestive flows. Even though, I mean, all of yoga is kind of a digestive flow because you're moving, but I'm going to call it a digestive flow to make it sound fancy.
That's awesome. What a brilliant idea, dude. Super stoked for you. Tell us one more time how people can find you. And
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, so my Instagram is hannah.mckitrick and my website is myintuitivehealth.com. And you can message me on either one of them. I'll definitely reply and be really excited to hear from you.
Now, for everyone who has hung out, which should be everyone who started it, what do you want to leave people with? So if they forget the whole thing, but they remember this, what do you want people to remember?
Life isn't nearly as serious as the mind makes it out to be. The kitchen included.
I was going to say, and probably cooking included.
Totally.
Oh,
that's one that I like to remind myself a lot, because you can just get so in your head about so many things, whether it's your job or your diet or your health, and it's not that serious. And I'm here to make it a little bit simpler and a little more fun.
Love it. And a little more tasty.
And a little more
That's
tasty.
Actually a
yeah.
great tagline. Just a little more fun and more tasty.
A little saucier. All the sauces.
So cute. Dude, thank you so much. Y'all, if you have questions for Hannah, if you have a recipe idea, like shoot your girl a DM, let her know.
Yes. I love to hear feedback.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh my God, guys. Wow. Like, what could we do if our lives were simpler and more fun and more tasty? That is such a good, final thing to leave us with. So y'all be good. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your week. Enjoy your life. A reminder that if you want a free guide to healthy habits, livemyhappyhealth.com. And if you don't want it, that's cool too. So y'all be good. Thanks for hanging out.